Chapter 1, it's conscription day in Navarre, where hundreds of 20-year-olds enter Bezgaeth War College, ready to choose their quadrant. And Violet Sorengale is getting ready to set out for the Writer's Quadrant, the deadliest of the 4 quadrants. We learn quickly that Violet has trained her whole life to be in the Scribe Quadrant, not the Writers, but her mother, the General, a peach, is forcing her to join the Writer's Quadrant. And Violet's older sister, Mira, is pissed. After unsuccessfully begging her mother to let Violet go into the Scribes rather than the Writers, Mira gives Violet a crash course of how to survive your first year in the Writers Quadrant, notably giving her dragon scale armor and a set of dragon riding boots. As Mira is saying goodbye, she has 2 final pieces of advice. Number 1, find Dane Atos. Number 2, stay away from Xaden Ryerson. I disagree with both of those pieces of advice. As Violet is getting ready to enter the Writers Quadrant via the dreaded parapet, she meets 3 people. Dylan, womp womp. 2, some jackass standing behind her. And 3, Rhiannon, a friendly girl who Violet trades one of her shoes with after noticing that Rhiannon's soles are flat, unlike the grippy rider boots that Violet has. Just as she's about to go out onto the parapet, who does she meet but the most exquisite man she's ever seen, aka Xaden Ryerson. And they have a heated face-off. Who knew that would happen? But the tension is broken when Dylan falls to his death.
No!
From the parapet, and the rain starts falling. Xaden steps to the side, allowing Violet to begin her walk. That is all chapter 1.
Dude, don't worry. Violet, she steps onto the parapet, begins her walk, but the wind and the storm, it's too unnerving. So she begins doing what calms, anybody down. She's listing facts. She's more than halfway. Violet looks back at that face Barlow is, and sees that he is waiting and then throws a fellow candidate off the parapet. It's like points and promises that Violet is next. So she's understandably terrified. She makes it to the end just in time to pull a dagger and hold it to Jack's balls, which is just beautiful, I must admit. I mean, the what she does, not his balls. In case you needed that clarification.
Chapter 3. She lived! And striding over to her is none other than the biggest fuckface, Dane Atos, aka Violet's childhood best friend. And homeboy is a squad leader, the highest rank you can be as a second year. Dane is shocked to see Violet and consoles her as she hurls after all the adrenaline from the parapet. Dane sneaks Violet away to his room. Rink allows her to bind her injured knee, then promptly tells her, okay, great, you're good to go. Let's go get you over to the Scribes. After a heated argument where Dane basically tells her that she doesn't have what it takes, fuckface, Dane concedes for now, and they go back to the courtyard. They are sorted into their squads, sections, and wings, and Violet is in Dane's squad, second squad, flame section, second wing. But what's that? Is it our Shadow Daddy? Who moves Dane's squad into the 4th wing? Hey, isn't that the name of this book?
I think it is, Nicole.
And just to elevate the drama, 8 dragons come swooping in and roasting 3 cadets on the spot, making the death toll for the day 70 freaking people. Woof.
That makes the Hunger Games just seem like child's play. Ooh,
I have so much to say on
that.
One dragon in particular, a navy blue one, finds Violet fascinating and has a similar stare as Xaden's. Interesting.
Chapter 4, we get the death roll, which is just a typical morning thing every single morning, which is just like really, again, paints the picture of this writer's quadrant and where the hell she has ended up here. We begin to meet more of the second squad members, namely Riddick, a smartass, and Sawyer, who's a repeat who didn't bond the previous year at Threshing. Dane and Violet sneak off to a corner of the rotunda, and after assuring Dane multiple times that she's fine and no one hurt her last night, Dane starts to ease off a little bit. Violet asks why her squad was moved to the 4th wing, and Dane confirms it's because Xaden Ryerson is trying to kill her, and this way he'll have a direct line to do so without it seeming, extra suspicious. We learn that Dane's signet power, which is the unique power that each writer has channeled through their dragon, it is that he can read recent memories, but only if he's touching a person's temple. As they're parting ways, a prickle fixes on Violet's neck, and hey, it's our man Xaden. Xaden teases the 2 of them for being so fucking obvious, which is so super true. And then Dane yells, "Run, Violet, run!" Which I just totally picture her doing, like the Forrest Gump run to her class. Like,
Chapter 5. We begin in Battle Brief, and trying to keep herself under the radar, Violet tells her new friend Rhiannon to ask a very specific question about the elevation of the battle they're dissecting. But it fails spectacularly. The teacher knows Violet is the one asking these highly intelligent questions. But as they're explaining this battle, we learn that the wards around Navarre are faltering. Dun, dun, dun. And it's not the first time. Dun, dun, dun. We learn, thanks to smart boy Xaden over here, that the villages were ransacked, which means the Griffins are looking for something. Later that day, it's time for sparring assessments, and an intimidated Violet looks in horror as Jack fucking Barlow literally snaps the neck of a sparring partner, killing him instantly. Jesus. It's Violet's turn, and she faces off against second-year, half-shaven, pink-haired, badass rebellion-wearing relic Imogen, and she gets her ass completely kicked. Her shoulder gets dislocated and she breaks her arm. Sucks to be Violet right now. Chapter 6. Dane carries a very injured Violet to the healer's quadrant and finds head healer Winifred and her husband, a writer whose signet is mending, Nolan, who quickly work to fix Violet up, something they're very used to doing over the past 5 years. But Dane the Stain is being the worst kind of scum and begs them not to heal her and instead leave her injured so she would be taken pity on and sent to the scribes. That is a major L our guy Dane just took. Violet drinks the Besgaiath's version of morphine and starts slurring like she's had one too many tequila shots. We've all been there, girl. After getting mended up, much to Dane's dismay, Violet goes back to her barracks. But what's that? Underneath Violet's pillow, she finds a gift from Mira. Is that Brennan's declassified school survival guide? Chapter 7. Poison Master Violet is out after curfew, grabbing the type of berry that she can use to hurt her next opponent on the mat. Thank you, Brennan, for telling her where to find out who her next target is. But as she's pulling her Mission Impossible, two cloaked figures arrive at the base of the tree. It's Xaden and Imogen. Oh shit. As she starts to freak out, more and more figures start to come to the party. All have rebellion relics, which is illegal according to the quadrant rules. No more than 3 marked ones can gather at one time. Turns out it is mostly a harmless meeting where Xaden is trying to help the first years in the most Xaden I will not coddle you way. But one of the first years asks, when do we get to kill Violet Sorengale? Rough. Xaden responds with, she's mine to handle. Yeah, she is. They dissolve the meeting, and after she's sure the coast is clear, Violet climbs down the tree and shadows come out to grab her, and the next thing she knows, she's at dagger point by Xaden Ryerson. Yeah, she is. Oh, we had two very different experiences. We learn that Xaden is very powerful and a very rare shadow wielder. He asks if Violet plans to tell anyone, mainly her mother or Dane, about the rebellion meetup, and Violet says she won't because they weren't really doing anything wrong. Surprised, Xaden says he owes her a favor and leaves. Chapter 8. Dane walks Violet to breakfast duty, the position she chose so that she can poison her sparring opponents. Our girl is smart. Yet again, Dane begs her to go to the squad quadrant, and when she finally denies him again, he says, lay low when it comes to Jack Barlow, completely at odds with Xaden's throw some daggers at him approach. At Dragon Class, yes, that is the technical name, we learn the amount of dragons wanting to bond this year and every year are dwindling. Fewer and fewer dragons are refusing to bond. Cue mystery noise here. Ooh. We learn that there is an unbonded black dragon with a Morningstar tail, and he is one of the most powerful and rare dragons, just like General Melgans. Like his calling shotgun, Jack Barlow calls dibs on said black dragon. With Professor Kaori, we get a huge download laced with foreshadowing about the black dragon's previous rider, and that they attempted to resurrect Brennan unsuccessfully, major air quotes, at sparring. Violet prepares for her first challenge, and asswipe Jack taunts her even more. She takes a leaf out of Xaden's book, though, and throws 2 daggers at him, shutting him up instantly and pissing Dane off. 2 things we love. She faces Oren Seifert, who definitely tries to kill her, and she wins. She also faces her next 5 challenges over the next 5 weeks, thanks to getting some poison maneuvering in, and she wins those as well. But good things don't always last long here at Basgaiath. Her 6th challenger is taken to the infirmary early, and who steps in but Xaden Ryerson. Chapter 9. Xaden is good, really fucking good at the mat, and he's taking all of her daggers away. He starts actually instructing her, though, and being an ass while he's doing it, but at least one helpful ass. Later on, Violet's getting a massage to help ease her aching muscles. Oh, wait, it's from Dane.
Boo.
And after some dragon talk, yet again, Dane starts talking about how Violet should go to the scribes, mentioning how he's talked to one of the professors in the scribe quadrant, and they have agreed to take her. This pisses Violet off to no end, because even though this is her way out, she won't take it. Damn it. Chapter 10. It is time for America Ninja Warrior. Oh, wait, it's actually the gauntlet. And this thing is intimidating as fuck. For the next 2.5 weeks, their task is to practice getting up the gauntlet that preps them for all things dragon. On Violet's turn to run up the gauntlet, our favorite Ravenclaw begins listing facts about feather-tail dragons and other dragon types to calm her understandably pounding heart rate down. While she doesn't make it the last little bit, Violet does better than we think. Orally, however, a fellow squad mate wasn't so lucky. She decides to go to the burn pit to burn Orly's pack, and Violet begins to unravel. It's time to choose scribes or riders. And who should join but recently back from a late night flying session, Xaden fucking Ryerson. And she's not in the fucking mood. She tells him to make up his mind on if he's gonna kill her or not. And then after a better pep talk than he gave the first years under the tree, he tells Violet the right way isn't the only way to get up the gauntlet, and he walks away. Chapter 11, presentation is tomorrow, and our girl Vi has yet to complete the gauntlet obstacle course, and she's freaked, even wondering if Dane is right, gag, and if she should run to the scribes, because it's basically her last chance. But now it is gauntlet day, and shock of shocks, Dane's being a little bitch, completely ignoring Violet until finally talking to her in line and whispering, "Change your mind, jackass." But now it's Violet's turn to shut him down. She climbs up the gauntlet, sailing past the first 3 ascents, using the rope to aid her in the 4th ascent, and taking a dagger and plunging it in to help her up the 5th ascent. But our girl, she freaking made it. However, rule follower Dane fucker Amber Mavis absolutely loses her shit on Violet for the dagger maneuver. But Violet comes at her with some lawyer level codex technicalities, and Amber reluctantly concedes. All the squad mates have made it up the gauntlet. Chapter 12. That was just part 1 of the day's events. Now they just have to parade in front of 100 dragons. Simple enough. But wait, there's an additional dragon, a feathertail. Suspicious, but making it 101 dragons. Our squad walks the distance, and they have some delightful banter talking about the gender of Rhee's sister's baby, something called Venom and Wyvern. Dun dun dun! And how when parading past the golden feathertail, Tynan believes they should kill it. Our friends really need to work on their communication skills. After the indecisive prior gets scorched, womp womp, 2 dragons find Violet very interesting and sniff her dragon scale armor. But once they begin walking again, Luca continues being absolutely insufferable and is the second crispy victim of the day. Womp womp. The squad is down to 6. Chapter 13. It's October 1st, and that means it's threshing day. After a brief pep talk from Professor Kaori, all of the cadets go off to bond with their dragons. 147 cadets, 101 dragons. What could go wrong? After several hours of wandering, Violet scales a tree to get a better look at the dragons, but what catches her eye? These 3 guys planning to kill the little golden dragon. Again, what could go wrong? Standing up for the little dragon, Violet gets ready to face off with these 3 douche nuggets, and who walks into the clearing but our favorite wing leader, Xaden and his ruthless dragon Sigale. Chapter 14. Xaden can't interfere though, not on threshing. So Violet begins to face off these 3 overly confident douche canoes, but our girl Violet is a quick learner, sinking a dagger in Jack's shoulder. Homeboy runs off, coward, and Oren gets knocked out by Violet. Just when Tynan, her old squad mate, is about to kill her, Xaden takes a step forward. What could that mean? But something huge lands behind her. Our favorite middle-aged dragon has entered the chat with an oh so satisfying "Step aside, Silver One." The gigantic black dragon roasts Tynan alive.
No womp womp for him. He deserves it.
Holy shit, our girl has a dragon and she cannot believe it. Literally asking the black dragon, "Are you sure?" After some lovely sassy lines from the grumpy dragon, she climbs on and they jump into the sky, and Violet falls right off. Honestly, we would too. Chapter 15. Taryn swoops down and catches Violet, throwing her into the air and getting her back on his back. It's Circus Olay up in Bezgaeth. Making it back to the flight field, Violet and Taryn are the center of attention, literally getting an eruption of roaring cheers from the other dragons. Side note, does everyone in Bezgaeth just have ears damage? Because that would be so loud. Violet is unable to do her normal rider dismount because both of her size and her injured ankle, so Tairn shimmies his leg and helps her to slide down him like he's a, quote, lethal piece of playground equipment. The other dragons murmur, yes, dragons can do that, and Violet goes to tell the role keeper Tairn's name, but another voice enters her head, a soft female voice. The golden dragon. Don't you know you're not supposed to talk to riders that aren't yours? Well, after she gets to the dais and after Lilith wins Coldest Mother of the Year award, Violet tells the dragon role keeper her dragon's full name and that she's bonded with Tairninach. The pronunciation could use some work. But what's that? The little golden dragon's voice. It just won't leave her alone. She says, Andarna Urim. And a shocked and confused Violet tells the role keeper the second dragon's name. All hell breaks loose. Chapter 16. Our girl definitely knows how to be memorable. After telling the role keeper that she has bonded 2 dragons, the leaders of Besgaeth needlessly argue while Violet's wounds are treated by Professor Kaori, a very shocked Professor Kaori. Then the irate Jack Barlow finds out that she's bonded Tairn, and let's just say the look on his face, it's priceless. The Empyrean takes off to meet about this highly irregular occurrence, and Tairn tells Violet to stay with the wing leader. Yes, sir, I will. But as she's celebrating with the remaining first years of her squad, Dane comes and takes her away and tells her A, leadership is going to make her choose a dragon, and B, that she will choose Andarna. Ugh. Violet is furious with him and says she refuses to choose, and why the hell would she not keep Tairn? Then Dane gives us a delicious download. Tairn and Sigale are mated pairs, meaning Violet and Xaden are now bound for life. Forced proximity just got that much tastier. Speaking of our new bound buddy, our favorite shadow daddy enters the conversation and tells Dane to go away, thank you Xaden, as he ups the stakes even higher. Their survival now depends on each other because Tairn's bonds are so powerful and so deep that mated pairs' lives are interdependent. If Tairn's rider dies, aka Violet, he dies, then Sigale dies, then Xaden dies. Dun dun dun! The dragons return and our girl gets both the dragons, since they are basically like, well, this isn't a rule, so sure. But then Dane the Stain has to make it all about him, and finally excited for our girl, he pulls her in for a kiss, but Violet doesn't want him anymore, and a cheer goes over the fandom. Chapter 17. Look, finally has her own room. Hooray for privacy. And it looks like many of the writers need said privacy as they celebrated after threshing. The cafeteria at breakfast is something out of Mean Girls, with Jack Barlow getting pushed out of his table. Very deserved, my guy. And Violet is suddenly very popular, particularly with the older members of her squad. Imogen, the pink-haired Mark I, who almost ripped off her arm in sparring the first time, says that she will now be training her in weightlifting, and it doesn't take her long to realize that our favorite wing leader has made the order. Later on at flying lessons, we learn that Tairn is a goody-goody student, Hermione Granger style, and after Violet tells him to release the bounds that he has on her legs, keeping her in place, Violet falls off him again and again and again and again. And right before weightlifting with Imogen, Dane finds her to say, Violet, we can't be together anymore. Great, dude. So excited. Violet begins her training with Imogen and wonders if that fierce loyalty is from lovers' connection between Imogen and Xaden. She is obviously not jealous. Chapter 18. 1 month later, we learn that Violet has been set to the archives duty and feels right back at home. But the never-ending threats continue as our friends learn that if they don't show signs of a signet in about 6 months, they'll basically explode. Not terrifying at all. Dane corners Violet as she dismounts Tairn after a flying lesson and lays into her, and they finally have it fully out. Violet saying, maybe you're some of the bullshit that this place will cut away from me. Fucking yes, finally! Later that night, Violet is having a lovely dream when Tairn wakes her up through their mind-to-mind bond. She's seen 7 people in her room, 6 of which are unbound first years, and they are out for blood. Just as Violet is about to die at Orin Seifert's hands, literally, Violet hears Andarna fill her head and time stops. Chapter 19. Violet is capital C confused, and just as she goes through the doorway, there is a pissed Xaden walking through the door, and time resumes again. Xaden kills everybody in the room without a second thought, and Garrick and Bodhi are on cleanup duty. This is going to be a very common theme for these two sidekick characters. Xaden checks Violet's wounds. Realizing that her ribs are not broken, the two whisk off to go see Taryn, Sigale, and Andarna. And we get a middle of the night dragon info dump. We learn that Andarna is a baby, but she will be fully grown in a year or so, and that all dragons have gifts that are completely separate from the signet that they channel to their rider. What? But baby dragons are able to gift their powers, and Andarna did just that. Go, my girl. A stunned Xaden and Violet agree that with these dragons, no one can know about this. As they walk back to the college, Xaden questions Violet about how people got into her room. Dun, dun, dun. Chapter 20. It's formation the next morning, and after the death roll is read off, Xaden tells Dane that there's been a change in his squad. Is that Liamari entering our story? Why, yes, it is. Finally. Infuriated Violet fights back against her bodyguard assignment, and thank God she loses that battle, if you can even call it that. But then Commandant Panchek announces that there's been an accusation that needs to be addressed. Xaden steps up and accuses wing leader Amber Mavis of attacking Violet in her sleep. Dane is fucking Dane. Dane is livid that Violet would, major air quotes, lie, and commands her to right this wrong. He then lifts his hand to cups her face, demanding the memory from her. Woof. If he had any points left, he lost them all in this stretch of chapters. Violet, of course, doesn't allow him to do this, and Taryn shares the memory of Amber from last night with the other dragons, who then share it with their riders. The other two wing leaders and Xaden are in unanimous agreement that Amber is fucking guilty, and realizing what's about to happen, Violet unsuccessfully begs her dragon not to kill her, but Taryn, rightly so, roasts Amber into the shish kebab she deserves to be.
Huzzah! Huzzah! Huzzah!
Chapter 21. Violet and her new bodyguard Liam are on library duty, and Violet questions Liam about being a marked one. But record scratch, there are some major incongruencies from what she learned when training to be a scribe. Like, there were people who were killed that she was not aware of. Siblings were split up and then fostered, and marked ones are all required to go into the writer's quadrant. What? Violet's mind is blown. But as they walk back from the archives, a scroll meant for Professor Markham falls off the cart, and a new mystery has entered our story. A high-altitude village was ransacked and supplies looted. What could that mean? Later on in Battle Brief, as our favorite rambunctious first years and second squad are joking around about Violet's sexual frustrations, the professors start class by saying how activity has been so quiet. So we're going to analyze this really important battle from 600 years ago. A very confused Violet and Liam exchange a look. Was that scroll marked classified? Was it? Chapter 22, montage number 1. A few months have passed and still nothing about Professor Markham's mysterious scroll. The squad has fallen into a rhythm. Classes, flying lessons, channeling lessons for some of them, and now Tuesday night sparring practice. A shirtless Xaden and Garrick walk in and begin their own sparring sessions, getting every attention from every person in the room. And for our girls Violet and Imogen, though, they are entirely enjoying this view for sexual reasons, and I won't even pretend that we are not right there with them. But Jack fucking Barlow continues his streak of being a total dickwad, and Xaden comes to stand notably behind Violet to egg him off. Now Jack is forced out by Liam, Garrick, Xaden, Violet, and kind of Imogen, but as Xaden turns to walk away after the mayhem, Violet notices his back is covered in way many scars. Taryn and Andarna share a moment in Violet's mind that is something like a parent-teacher conference. She's ready, apparently. Later that night, a strange surge of power ripples through Violet after a huge wave makes her collapse to the floor. Something new comes in. The horniness of a 15-year-old boy has entered Violet Sorengale. After almost leaping on top of a confused Liam, Violet gets outside to cool her aching need that is only being caused by Taryn and Sigale going at it like bunnies in springtime. Who's there but Xaden, beautiful man Ryerson, and he's smoking weed, of course. And welcome to the middle of the night sessions that make Nicole go weak at the knees, part 3. Xaden teaches Violet how to shield out Taryn's escapades, and turns out she's really really, really good at shielding. Go Violet. And then the charged crackle between them overcomes them both. And finally, our enemies to lovers make out. But then after a crack of thunder, weird, and realizing that this lust is not entirely of their own making, debatable, but whatever, Xaden breaks the kiss and begs her to leave. Violet walks back to the room with a solid, what the fuck just happened? We've all been there. Chapter 23. The next morning, we get a classic powwow sesh. After speculating about what will happen with Xaden and Violet after graduation, Rhys shows Violet her signet power. Accio book! Our girl is a summoner. On their way to class, Dane quarters Violet and apologizes, air quotes on that one, for not asking for the memory. This is after him accusing her of not sharing the information with him about Amber, and right before he cups her face again, but whatever, dude. Then Violet goes off to Professor Carr's wielding class, and this guy is terrifying. He also takes a leaf out of Ollivander's book and says, well, expect great things from you, Violet Sorrengale. But then it's time for montage number 2. It's now January, and she's been working on her lesser magic. Our girl finally gets a pen! Shielding and grounding. She also wins 2 sparring fights without poisoning her opponents. Our girl is fucking killing it. But then one day she checks the leaderboard and learns that she's going to fight Jack fucking Barlow. As she fights him, Jack is doing everything he can to try to kill her, including transferring his own magic into her. But our smart cookie has a vial of oranges, and then she slams it into his face. Jack loses the battle, but Violet also passes out. She wakes up in the healer's quadrant, and who's there but a hair-tousled, distressed-looking Xaden Ryerson, who has only one word for Violet. Oranges? Chapter 24. Xaden kind of sort of, gives Violet a good job when it comes to using oranges as a weapon against Jack, but his warmth, if you can even call it that, stops there. After brushing off their kiss like it was absolutely nothing, and admitting that he was trying to stay away from her, which was a mistake, Shadow Daddy Xaden takes over everything when it comes to Violet and her training, and Nicole does a fist pump in the air. On the sparring mat the next day, Xaden has a gift for Violet, 12 tearish daggers made specifically for her, and Xaden tells her that she needs to disarm him, and boy, oh boy, does she in a sexually charged moment that has a fandom panting for this enemies to lovers combo. Montage number 3. Xaden has been training Violet for about a month now, much to shit-stained Dane's dismay. But Violet still hasn't produced a signet, and her time is ticking like a bomb that's ready to go off, literally. Xaden, I'm taking over everything when it comes to you, Ryerson, whisks Violet away from class again to go flying. But on their way up to the flight field, who do we run into except dad of shit-stained Dane and mother of the year, Lilith Sorrengale? We get a heavily with meaning conversation between these 4, and I guess Pancheck, he's there too, so 5. Then Violet and Xaden meet up with their 3 dragons and that begin their flight for the day. Not without some delightful, been married way too many years energy from Taryn and Sigale. Chapter 25. It's squad battle time, and after Liam eviscerated everyone on the mat, our squad learns that their final task is simple: find something that the enemies would find useful. Seems pretty legit. Our favorite second squad breaks off and puts their heads together, and of course, brilliant-minded Violet comes up with the idea: we're gonna break into Lilith Sorrengale's office. What could go wrong? Using everyone in their squad's unique signet, they sneak into the office and find some notable material in there. First, a dagger that looks oh so similar to Violet's, and then some missives that are troubling. But then Violet looks at the giant map behind her mother's desk with an up-to-date war map. And yep, that's of course the thing they steal, a giant map. After some trouble with a guard that they knock out and stuff into an office, woof, they arrive back into the battle brief room with seconds to spare. They present their findings, and just like Gryffindor House at the end of every year, our squad is awarded 60 points and shoots up to first place. Chapter 26. To Montserrat we fly! After landing in their first place prize, a balmy outpost near the eastern border named Montserrat, a group of flyers comes in from patrol, and do we hear? Is that Violet? It's our second favorite fantasy big sister behind Lexi, Mira! And the 2 sisters reunite in a way that, yes, will make us ugly cry. But that's not the only reunion we get. Rhee's family, including her sister and new baby nephew, are only 5 minutes dragon ride away. Rhee and Vi sneak out on day 2, well done, at Montserrat, and they get caught instantly by Mira. But it doesn't take much to wear Mira down and bring her along for the ride. At Rhee's parents' house, we get a very wholesome moment between the 2 sisters, and upon leaving, just as Violet asks asks Mira, how long can mated pairs be separated? Who steps out of the shadows but our shadow daddy himself, Xaden Ryerson, and Nicole melts. Chapter 27. The next day here on this field trip, half of Second Squad is sitting around a table doing fake battle planning. But hold up, who just talked into Violet's mind? Mind to mind trope has entered our story. After they finish up the meeting, Xaden, Violet, and Dane are called into the principal's office, aka to talk to Mira. And boy, oh boy, does this sister lay into Dane, and it's delicious. After Dane leaves, she's beginning to lay into our enemies to lovers. But what's that? A drift of griffins are headed this way. The squad flees, but as Violet tries her best to stay and fight alongside her big sister, Xaden distracts her with a kiss, and an irate Violet gets scooped into the sky by Taryn. Field trip over. Chapter 28. Violet is waiting outside of Professor Markham's office a few days later when Xaden shows up bringing her the one thing every girl needs their boo to bring them: coffee. But Dane the Stain shows up to pour an ice bucket of water over these two and has an, oh my god, Violet, do you need breakfast? Coffee, my guy. We want coffee. Professor Markham shows up and he's got good news. Mira and the rest of the outpost survive. Huzzah! The weight that has been crushing our girl Violet takes over and she runs to her only safe place, her golden dragon, to let it all out. After a session of 20 questions where we're pretty sure Violet loses, if you can even lose that game, it's time for War Games Round 1. Meeting up with her dragon, Violet notices a shiny new fit on Taryn, and we guess Xaden's love language is gift giving because of course our shadow daddy gave Violet a saddle. War Games is simple. Retrieve the egg. Hello, Goblet of Fire. It's nice to see ya. But in the sky, Violet notices Jack fucking Barlow is guarding the egg they need, and he begins dragon fighting with Liam. Don't touch our man. And Jack fucking Barlow slices into our dude, causing him to fall to his death. But, and Darna's gift to the rescue, Violet stops time and her and Taryn scoop up our boy Liam, and filled with rage, Violet lashes out on Jack with a crackle of lightning, and Jack falls dead.
Huzzah!
Chapter 29. Violet is a lightning wielder, but shit, our girl has some very valid feelings about it. After landing on the flight field, Violet retches and Dane the Stain sweeps her into a comforting hug, telling her, it's okay, Violet, you don't have to use your power. But Xaden isn't fucking having it with Dane's fucking coddling shit today. He pushes Dane away and grabs Violet's shoulders, giving her a big old wake-up call. This is war, bitch. People die, but with her signet, she is the weapon, and she can save thousands of innocent lives. Way to mindset shift our guy Xaden. Later that night, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Xaden comes to check up on Violet.
Oh, Nicole's got her sexy voice on now, everybody.
His girl had a shitty day, and she's doing what honestly most of us wish we could be doing after a shit day, and that is throwing daggers at a wall. My landlord would not like that. But then the tension, the crackling tension between these two is just too much. And Chapter 30, bang, bang, bangity bang. Bang, bang, bang. These two finally fuck, ladies and gentlemen.
Huzzah!
And it's frighteningly perfect. But then X-Man comes in to twist the knife with a, whatever you do, don't fall for me. Way too late for that. The next morning, Xaden is gone, but there are violets on her desk, and the broken pieces of basically all of her furniture are placed in a corner. Way to make us not fall for you, my guy. Professor Carr shows up and whisks Violet away to a mountaintop where she's ready to practice her freaking lightning wielding. But how does she practice lightning wielding without the wing leader? Xaden projects into her mind images that reflect, we made a home videotape last night energy. And our girl gets quite a emotional reaction. She wields lightning again and again and again and again, but it turns out it's harder than she thought. Chapter 31. Xaden knocks on Violet's door, and boy, oh boy, is this man ready for seconds. But as they're cleaning up the previous night's escapades, asking, how was your day, honey? A very sneaky hidden note falls out of Violet's copy of the Fables of the Baron. Papa Sorringale has written a letter. And despite what our dynamic duo says, this cryptic letter, quote unquote, is not so cryptic for us rereaders. Changing the subject rapidly, though, Xaden is like, so, you ready to fuck again? But Violet calls him out on his BS. You're going to fall for me, Xaden Ryerson. And he retorts with an incredibly untruthful, am not. These two banter in a way that I would never have been able to have the willpower to stand my ground. And Violet shoves him out. Montage! A month has passed and Violet is still holding strong despite the fact that they have crackling sexual tension every night as they spar. Honestly, I'm impressed no one caved. But Violet decides to have her fun and take it to another level, threatening to get naked, get on her knees, Nicole style, in the middle of lunch, and this causes Xaden to choke on his food. Nice. We then have another mini montage. We're in Battle Breathe and an absolutely emotional, distressed Violet blurts into her mind-to-mind connection with Xaden, telling him to take her to bed, but he jokingly just brushes it off. This sends our girl into a spiral of anxiety. We feel you, Vi, where she convinces herself that Xaden is blowing off some steam with Imogen. Dun dun dun. Later that night, it's time for the reunification celebration and our squad looks hot. Liam and Violet make their way through the party when King Tari, Melgren, and Lilith all have a very interesting conversation with them, followed by a very interesting moment with Dane. Violet can feel Xaden is having a bad night, so she searches out for her boo, finally finding him on the parapet. That was all chapter 31. On to chapter 32. Violet steps onto the parapet and notices how different things are since she last stepped onto this motherfucking death trap. Most notably, she's in a fucking skirt that might as well be singing, "Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me." As she's walking to Xaden, it hits her. She is in love with this man. And we have 100 pages left of this book, so dun dun dun. But when Xaden is like, "What the hell are you doing here?" she convinces him to go back to solid ground with her and guides him to his room. Violet commands her man to sit down and begins taking care of him, tucking him into a little nighty-night. But boy, oh boy, does Xaden have different plans for this evening. And in what is a little over 2 minutes, these two are naked and ready to go. And bang, bang, bangity bang. I said a bang, a bang, bang,
bang, bang, bang, bang.
One turns into 3, which turns into 5, and damn, these two lovebirds are going at it like Taryn and Sigale when Taryn decides to first start channeling. Huzzah! But pounding on the door startles these two. It's Cock Block Garrick, and he says the whole quadrant is being called to formation. They are under attack.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. Chapter 33. Xaden and Violet rush to enter the formation courtyard. Violet meets up with her squad and Ree is stoked to see Violet in Xaden's Letterman jacket. And they get orders. It's fucking war games. All of the wings will be riding off into a region in Navarre, each squad getting to choose their own location, but wing leaders are assigned to one as headquarters, and Xaden's is Athbeen, which should sound familiar to us, and it's beyond the wards. 30 minutes later in the flight field, Violet and the rest of 2nd Squad are ready to roll out, but Shadow Daddy Xaden demands his girl to be on his crew. Dane, however, is horrified, convinced that Xaden is taking her onto his team so that he can get her killed. The irony is not lost on us there. But Violet lets her allegiances show, and Dane, in a true God fucking damn it Dane moment, says, "I'll miss you, Violet. God fucking damn it Dane." Chapter 33. After flying for many, many, many hours, the Xaden crew lands in a lakeside forest mountaintop. So lovely to our Colorado hearts. Grade A boyfriend Xaden gives his girl a leg massage, and it sends my pulse skyrocketing. But what's that? Is that the sound of betrayal in the air? Oh no! Griffin flyers have arrived, and Xaden has to stop Violet from pulling a fucking Thor, and he passes her off to Liam. Woof, this is not a good look for our guy Xaden. But then the look gets even worse as Xaden strides towards these Griffins with a "you're fucking early." Chapter 35. Xaden Ryerson, get ready to take some L's, my guy. He talks to the Griffin Flyers, and we learn that there is a horde of Venom. What? Heading north to attack a village, and the Griffins are about to go to their aid. But don't mistake their warning for kindness. These flying fucks are assholes, outright declaring that Violet would never help them. But then Zaddy comes in with a "touch that Sorengale and you're dead." Xaden explains everything-ish to her, and fucking brilliant woman that she is, she starts to piece it all together with a little assistance from Papa Sorengale's not-so-cryptic note. Venom are real. Leadership knows about them. They're hiding beyond the wards. The only thing powering the wards is what can kill Venom. The Griffin attacks are all for this venom-killing substance. Basically, her whole world gets turned upside down. They take to the sky and land at the Athmine outpost, which is surprisingly, not so surprisingly, abandoned. Just as Liam and his handy-dandy Farsight starts to see something really bad, we get the assignment from none other than Dane the Stain's dad. Survive if you can. Dun, dun, dun!
Oh, dear!
Chapter 36. Standing on the battlements of Athmine, Liam, using his Farsight signet, sees 4 figures basically apparate outside of the city of Ressin. These 4 figures are wearing purple robes and have red veins. Welcome to the chat, Venin! And shit's about to get fucked up. 7 Griffin riders arrive, and the one who is just oh so delightful by the lake approaches. It is a death sentence, and they are going down there, but not you all, though. Scram. A torn-up Xaden knows he has to make an impossible decision. He decides to fight. And as does everyone else in this makeshift squad, Violet included. Of course, after checking with Taryn, our favorite curmudgeon, who's ready for some fucking blood. We will feast on their bones, Silver One. Point made, my guy. Gearing up for battle, Xaden reminds us the only way to take them out is by dagger. You hear that, Lexi? The only way to take them out is by dagger. But after a heartfelt goodbye with Andarna and an approval from Sigale for Violet's choices, the 2-legged flying creatures come down from the sky. Welcome to the chat, Wyvern! Xaden gives Violet a dagger and promises that if they live, he will tell her everything that she wants to know. I'm holding you to that in iron flames, Xaden. It's time for battle, and immediately chaos ensues. And after unsuccessfully killing a Venin, because apparently they're fireproof, a squad member, Soleil, finds an abandoned mine and they begin ushering civilians out towards it. But a Venin lands near them and begins channeling magic straight from the Earth's core, causing anything and anyone to shrivel up into a sack of human skin, including Soleil and her dragon. Holy shit.
No!
There's an outpost which Taryn states has a container with the Mari family crest on it, question mark, and it's highly unstable. But our Ravenclaw is 2 steps ahead, getting Taryn into position as around them Liam wields spears of ice. What? Taryn breathes deep and blows the damn thing up, but the Venin survived. Damn it. It's almost like Xaden was right, and the only thing that kills them is daggers. Who knew? But there's a new problem. There's more Venin and Wyvern, and it's time to play distraction. Our girl wields lightning more and hits the bullseye, seeing a Wyvern drop straight out of the sky. Violet gets momentarily distracted by Xaden being an absolute shadow daddy, to the point that Taryn almost gets gutted by a Wyvern. Oops! Sigale to the rescue though, but not without some major side-eye towards our girl. Violet's attention then switches to Liam, just in time to see him slit a Venin's throat. 1 down. They might actually be okay. But the hope does not last long. A Wyvern comes out of the blue and begins fighting with Day. Day does not live.
No!
A dragon without their rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Liam's heart begins to slow as Violet attempts to take him towards Day's body, but she cannot get him there. Liam asks Violet to look after Sloane, and a distraught Violet agrees to his dying plea from her shadow, her friend. Xaden arrives and takes Liam to Day, and Liam's soul is sent to Malik next to his dragon.
Oh, can I get the biggest no ever? No! Liam!
But we're still in battle, and dozens of Wyvern come down into the valley, and Violet is ready for revenge, and she launches into the air. But shortly after, Tarn roars in pain. That is all chapter 36. Chapter 37. A Venin has a sword embedded into Tarn. Violet and the Venin begin to duel, but Violet is severely outmatched. Our girl gets a poisoned dagger shoved into her side, and the Venin gives us a very cryptic download. Xaden fills the area with shadows, disorienting the Venin, and our girl gets her second kill of the book. Goodbye, cryptic Venin. But Violet is definitely poisoned. She has just enough strength to make a plan. She's going to take out the second to last Venin with lightning, and Xaden can handle the last one. Using every ounce of energy she has and then some, Violet wields lightning at the Venin, but she's burning out, and Tarn is not having it. Let me help! A golden voice exclaims, and together with Andarna, Violet stops time to control the lightning to strike true onto the Venin. He dies instantly. Xaden gets the last venom with a beautifully lethal dagger move, but the black blood pouring from Violet's side causes her to fall off Taryn's back. Chapter 38. Violet falls, but our incredibly beautiful shimmering gold dragon stops time again and catches her. Then when time resumes, an absolutely panicked Xaden begs her to fight the poison that is cutting off her magically before she is knocked out. This will be a theme in this chapter. Violet comes to and overhears the remaining members of the Marked One squad debate what to do next. Her blood is black. That's not good. They need to get her to a mender, but Nolan is 12 hours away in Bisgayeth, and Violet would be deader than doornails, so that's not an option. But just like a light bulb popping over Xaden's head, there's somewhere else, and he will save her. Ooh, mystery. And our girl's out again, and she wakes up, but everything hurts, and she has nothing left. She's being carried by Xaden, who has an irate Taryn breathing down his neck. Xaden? A familiar voice says, but who could it be? But our protective shadow daddy utters in response only, you have to save her. Chapter 39. Who's that boy? It's Xaden. We're in his head and poor guy is losing it. This barely sane Xaden gives us hopeless romantic, the download we've all been craving. Homeboy fell first. Yes! But Violet wakes up and she's healed. And she's like, what's wrong, Xaden? Doe-eyed and bushy-tailed. And sweet, naive Xaden is like, oh, maybe this won't be so bad after all. Oh, wait, she lost all her memories. This is awkward. It's all coming back. It's all coming back to Vi now. Where are we? Where is this mystery location? Surprise, Arisha lives. But this brilliant fucking woman kicks Xaden out of his own room because she remembers everything and she's pissed. Xaden joins his two best friends in the hall and we get a quick update on the last 3 days. Violet will need to learn how to shield from Dane. 2 Griffin Flyers survived. There was a box that Garrick's dragon was attracted to and they have it in their possession and they're figuring it out. And Xaden smells like dragon ass. After Xaden and Violet are bathed and looking like a snack, at least according to Xaden, Xaden asks Violet the all-important question, are you willing to fight with us? Violet confirms and all is right with the world. But Xaden's joy is quickly smothered. She's fighting with them, but no way in hell is she trusting him. But he admits in his head he loves her. Nicole weeps in a corner and is so happy. A sound knocks on the door. Who could that be? It's dramatic entrance Brennan Mender Sorengale. Welcome to the revolution, Violet. Woo! End of book.